Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the May 3rd, 2023 meeting of the Daytona Beach City Commission. We're happy to have each of you with us tonight. Madam Clerk, may we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Paris? Here. Commissioner Strickland? Commissioner May?
Here.
Commissioner Cantu?
Here.
Commissioner Henry?
Here.
Commissioner Reed?
Here.
Mayor Derek L. Henry?
Here.
Motion to excuse Commissioner Strickland.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from Commissioner Henry. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those in opposition, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. We will now have the invocation led by Commissioner Reed, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Paris. Please rise for the invocation and pledge.
This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. For great is the Lord and greatly to be praised. Lord, we thank you once again for another beautiful day, for the ability to look up, to get up, to walk upright. We thank you, Lord, for the strength that you've provided each and every one of us. We pray, Lord, now for this commission as it makes decision on behalf of this city. We pray for every household that's represented in this city. We pray for everyone, Lord God, who may be sick in their body, sick in their mind, that you would touch and that you would heal them, and that we would turn from our wicked ways so that you could heal our land. Lord, we pray for those who have great loss. And you know about loss because your son Jesus died on the cross that we might have life and might have it more abundantly. So you know that pain. You know that loss. So God, today as we stand together on behalf of our fellow commissioner, we lift up his family. We pray that you would strengthen them, that you would give them peace, that you would give them a calm spirit, that you would remind them that in your word you said you'd never leave us nor forsake us, that you are God all by yourself. You made these heavens and these earths all by yourself, and you knew who we were, yet before we were even in our mother's womb, and you know every day what's going to happen. So Lord, putting our trust in you, we pray for the strength of every household in this city, that we would come together and be unified, that we would give you the glory and the honor in all that we do, and that this body would be unified in the decisions that we make on behalf of these 78,000 citizens, that this body would have a like-mindedness. And Lord, even if we disagree, let us agree to disagree and to remain cordial with one another. I give you all the honor. I give you all the praise, and all the glory belongs to you, O God. It's in your matchless name of Son, Jesus, I pray. Let us all say, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will now move on to item number 4, which is approval of the minutes of the March 28th, 2023 Strategic Planning Retreat and the April 5th, 2023 City Commission meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Motion from Commissioner Reed, second from Commissioner May. Do we have any questions or comments? All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those in opposition, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. This time we will have our agenda approval. If there are any changes, our city manager will address them.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, we have item 8O, Utility Department Wholesale Water, Wastewater, and Reuse Water Service Agreement, revised page 10 of the agreement reflecting the corrected recurring service fees to be paid by the City of South Daytona. Also in the attendance tonight is my colleague, the City Manager of South Daytona, as well as the Mayor from those cities as we move this item forward because of the partnerships we have with both cities. And also we're removing item 10B, the city attorney's appointment, until next week when the commissioner assigned to that will be in attendance. Thank you.
Motion to approve the agenda with the said changes.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any questions All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay.
6-0.
Okay. Moving on to item number 6 is a presentation. It's the recognition proclamation for Freddie C. Moore.
One of them bigger than the other. Which one is the biggest?
Oops, sorry.
No, take the spot. Go down. You want me to hand it to you?
On the corner of your
She's coming that way. We'll get it. We'll get it.
To the ladies of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, to all of the citizens of Daytona Beach, to my colleagues on the Dais City Commission, we gather this evening and take this moment to pay homage to one of our city's greatest servants, a woman whose record and reputation are now resting in heaven. And her record on earth is one of transformation, positivity, community service, stern advice, and humor. So if you would, her daughter's here also. I'm sorry. All right, would you please join us also? And ladies, if you would please stand. Whereas Freddie Clay Moore was born May 16th, 1927 in Arcola, Mississippi, to Joseph Clay and Emma Johnson, where she inherited her parents' passion for education, hard work, and a deep concern for her community. And whereas Freddie graduated from Booker T. Washington High School in Memphis, Tennessee, Ms. Moore attended Tougaloo College in Tougaloo, Mississippi, earning a Bachelor of Science degree in 1949 with a focus on elementary education. She earned a Master of Science degree in 1978 from Stetson University, DeLand, Florida. And whereas Freddie began her teaching career at Moore Elementary School in Glen Allen, Mississippi. After moving to Daytona Beach in 1960, she taught English at Campbell Junior High, eventually transferring to Seabreeze Junior High, where she was responsible for establishing the reading laboratory to help students with reading and comprehension. After the school closed, Ms. Moore transferred to Silver Sands Elementary, where she continued teaching reading, eventually earning a position in administration with the Volusia County school system until her retirement in 1998. In 1984, Ms. Moore was the first black female elected to the Daytona Beach City Commission, filling the seat vacated following the death of her husband, Andrew J. Moore Sr., where she served until 1992. She was elected in 1995 to the Volusia County Council, and in 1988 was elected chairman of the Volusia County Council, and the first black woman to do so, where she served until her retirement in 1998. Whereas Freddie was a member of the Mount Bethel Baptist Institutional Church, a Golden Life member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, the Pilot Club of Daytona Beach, Bethune-Cookman College Women's Advisory Board, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, National Council of Negro Women, and the recipient of numerous awards, including the Governor's Point of Light Award and the National Association of Counties Achievement Award. Now, therefore, I, Derek L. Henry, Mayor of the City of Daytona Beach, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim to the family of Freddie C. Moore our sincere condolences and hope that the memories of her exceptional life will always provide you comfort. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Daytona Beach to be affixed the 22nd day of April, 2023. Commissioner Reed.
I said, is Xavier telling me what to do? Brenda, we present these flowers to you and your family on behalf of the life that she lived. I specifically asked for a dish garden because there are various flowers in here that are beautiful just like she was. And as they grow, you can take them out and have individual flowers in your home. I'm going to share, here, you take this. I'm going to share that I have known this family all of my life. I grew up in Mount Bethel Baptist Institutional Church. And I knew her father when he was a city commissioner. And I believe around 16 or so, I helped with the mother running for this position. She was a lady in every sense of the word. I have to tell you that when I ran for office, I went to her, Mr. Mayor, and I asked her if she would support me and endorse me. And she said, well, let me just see who else is going to run. And I thought, Soror Moore. Look, it's Soror Moore now, okay? You know me. You didn't birth me, but you raised me. You taught me. You know who I am. But she said, let's just see who else is going to run. And it taught me a lesson to not always speak first, to take your time and think about things before you make decisions. I want you to know that I was endorsed, and Brenda wrote me a check. And so this evening, it gives us great pleasure to stop and to pause and recognize her life. And we thank the sorors of the Daytona Beach Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated for joining us and standing with this family tonight, because she indeed was a Delta. If you look up on the dais, we have a seat for her this evening. That black ribbon is representing where she would sit. It's a beautiful ribbon, and it's in honor of her sitting with us this evening. And if I may say, she's a Delta, D-E-L-T-A, Delta all the way, yeah, 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 yeah. Sarah.
Come right here together.
Let's take a picture. Sarah. Come around, Sarah. Come on, Brian.
She can put it up there.
We'll put you in the middle. Deidre. Daughter-in-law Deidre used to work for the city.
You can put it on the podium at the top. Yep.
Are you coming around, Sarah, for the picture? Come on, Ann. I didn't bring the whole chapter. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, we do have business to conduct tonight.
I remember y'all. You may have to play high
A little bit.
Oh, to see you all. Come on over here. A little bit closer.
Good. Thank you.
And Commissioner Reed will be provided with the pictures, and she'll share.
Thank you.
And let me say one more thing. Only 3 women have sat in that seat, and all 3 of those women were Delta. Sarge, you can leave if you'd like to leave. I asked you to only come. Can they hear me? You may leave if you'd like to leave. Wanda, I know you just got off from work. You must have sped here to be here at 6 from DeLand. Oh, you got off early.
Hey, Kathy.
My phone ring. Just turn the ring on. Thank you. no, I wouldn't play
Are
in
any of
that.
those for the consent? Are any of those for the consent?
Funny. Okay. Oh,
Okay. We're going to move on to item number 7 for citizen comments. During this time, citizens have the opportunity to address the City Commission on any item on the consent agenda. My first speaker is Brenda Fisher, and on deck is Frederick Brown.
that's free.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Commission members. It's an honor to be before you this evening. My name is Brenda Fisher. I live at 443 Margaritaville Avenue here in Daytona Beach, and I am a candidate for the Police and Fire Pension Board tonight on the consent agenda. And I'd like to thank Commissioner Cantu for the opportunity as well as for the recommendation for my appointment. And I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a retired city manager with 20-plus years of experience in large cities, and they're all on the West Coast in California, Nevada, and Arizona. And in each of those cases as city manager, police and fire reported to me. They were part of my administration, so I have a deep understanding not only of the operations, but the finances, both of city government as well as of police and fire departments and pension funds in general. As city manager, again, I had a lot of municipal experience in financing and budgeting and forecasting, ensuring solvency of cities, again, on the West Coast. Personally, I'd like to say my parents are here, my mom, my dad, and my husband, and I introduced them because my father's retired police, my husband's retired fire. So I do keep it in the family a little bit there. We moved here to Daytona Beach. It's our, we're so happy to be here from the West Coast about 2 years ago now. So it's gone by very quickly. I'm a public servant at heart. So while retired, I wanted to find an opportunity to give back and to help and support the community. And so when I saw this opportunity, I jumped at it. And I'm very happy to be before you this evening. And should you appoint me tonight, I will happily join the rest of the board members in continuing the great work that they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda.
Okay, our next speaker is Frederick Brown.
Glad to have y'all.
Good evening, Frederick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge, Daytona Beach. There's a number of things on the consent agenda that I'd like to address, and I know some of this may seem repetitive, and it is. Once again, we're buying a considerable number of vehicles, none of which show any consideration towards future electrical vehicle purchases to improve our environment. Again, I encourage the city to put that in their request for bids when they go for equipment. There is an appointment for city attorney's office. My concern is, and he has good qualifications, is that when a person becomes a member of the city attorney's staff or appointed, that they be politically neutral. His firm is well known for its political involvements with city commissioner candidates, and I don't know that there's something pending or in the city code that requires that, but it certainly would be in the fairness to the citizens that we do have people working with the city attorney, that they be politically neutral. On the settlement of 80, again, you're going to hear me say, I really would like to see a breakdown of the settlement. We're giving over $250,000 out on this one, and the firm is well known for its large settlements. They've been advertising day and night on TV, so obviously they have a tremendous amount of financial gain from this. Again, I'm saddened to see over $250,000 of our tax money be going to a personal injury case, but this seems to be the times that we're in. I would still like to see this itemized. I know the attorney's fees may be limited, but the expenses, which is where a great deal of the costs go, seem to go hidden and undiscovered. I know this because I have a lot of personal experience in this field. I have not had a chance to review the case in its entirety, but again, it looks like the die has been cast. You've decided to pay the money, and the taxpayers are out. On item 8M, I want to say I'm very much in approval. The particular firm that you selected for this pump equipment is a firm that I have worked with for many, many years. They're a very reputable firm, And so I'm pleased to see the city is doing business with a reputable firm that I know how they operate. So I thank the Utilities Department for making a good choice there. Thank you.
Okay. That was my final speaker for the consent agenda.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Parrish and a second from Commissioner May. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Mayor, I would just like to say, since we approved this, thank you to Bill, I always say his last name wrong, Kundig, I believe, that served on our fire pension board for almost 3 years. So I would just like to say thank you and congratulations to Brenda, and thank you.
Yep, thank you. Congratulations and welcome to all of you. Do the parents live in Margaritaville as well? Okay, great.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 9, which is our public hearings. Item 9A is the Growth Management and Planning Department Fair Lawn Large-Scale Comprehensive Plan Amendment. This is an ordinance on first reading public hearing. An ordinance adopting large-scale comprehensive plan amendments in accordance with Chapter 163, Part 2, Florida statutes, with regard to 198 plus acres of property generally located northeast of the intersection of Clyde Morris Boulevard and Strickland Range Road, amending the future land use map designation for a portion of this property consisting of approximately 9 acres from county urban low intensity to level 1 residential, amending neighborhood K development policy to impose limitations on development, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Commissioner May and a second from Commissioner Reed.
And I do have Mr. Rob Merrill on behalf of the applicant for any questions.
All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
The public hearing and final action is set for July 5th.
Good night.
Okay, moving on to item 9B, it's a Growth Management and Planning Department Waypoint Plan Development General. This is an ordinance on second reading. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 414.97 plus or minus acres of property generally located east of Tomoka Farms Road in the southwest quadrant of Interstate 4 and Interstate 95 interchange from VCA2, Volusia County Rural Agriculture, to PDG, Plan Development General, approving the Waypoint Plan District Agreement authorizing mixed-use development of the property with up to 1,660 residential units, including multifamily, single-family detached, and single-family attached products, and 340,000 square feet of commercial, institutional, and light industrial uses, subject to certain conditions, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement. And due to an advertising error, this item needs to be continued into the May 17th, 2023 City Commission meeting at 6 p.m.
Motion to move this to May 17th, 2023.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. Moving on to item 9C, it's a Public Works approval of the preliminary and final plat for Phase 1 of Grand Champion Subdivision, resolution public hearing. A resolution approving the preliminary and final plat for the Grand Champions Phase 1, a single-family residential subdivision containing approximately 96 lots on 70 plus or minus acres generally located north of West International Speedway Boulevard, west of Tomoka River, and south of the Champions Drive, authorizing the city manager to sign the final plat and permit recordation thereupon meeting certain conditions precedent and providing an effective date.
So move.
I have a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner May.
Okay. I do have Mr. Parker Menchenberg here for any questions from the...
I do have some questions. I'm going to approve this, but I've had a resident call me, and he says he has 20 other residents, so I just have a few questions I'd like to be put on record. And one of them was the phasing on it, the 3 phasing. So I'm actually talking about 9C, 9D, and 9E. If you could explain that, thank you.
Good evening. Parker Minchenberg, 1729 Ridgewood Avenue. You guys approved the zoning on this probably a year or so ago, and we're in now for 3 separate final plats. The Phase 1 final plat actually plats the entire property. and the first 96 lots or so. So the development you can see on the screen will be the kind of first tier lots. Phase 2 is below the red, and then Phase 3 is to the left of the red. So you don't put 300 and some lots on the market all at once, so it's a phased project.
Okay, I appreciate it. The second question I have is the initial construction activities, will that actually be going through their neighborhood?
Yeah, as we discussed at the neighborhood meetings and a couple subsequent meetings with the president and vice president of that association who live to the south, you'll see on multiple places on the plans, and it's in the zoning as well. All construction access comes from the top of this drawing, which keeps construction traffic for all 3 phases from going to the south. At the end of Phase 2, the road will actually be open from the bottom to the top. So at that point, it'll be a paved road all the way. The initial phase, what you see in red, will have paved road, and then there is a emergency access to the south with a gate, with a knock locks and signs that say emergency access only. I've had meetings with the contractors. Everybody's aware of the sensitivity to the south. And in addition to that, we also provided 100-foot treed buffers at the south end to further buffer that existing subdivision.
Okay, and so one of the other questions I had, where the was going to be, okay, where the green belt is going to be, could you tell me a little bit what that's going to look like? I guess originally, this is before me, when you guys had conversations, there was going to be a single house right there, and they removed
Yeah.
2 homes.
Yeah, originally we had a 25-foot, I believe, setback, and then the first home. So now there's a minimum of 100 foot of wooded area before you get to the first house.
Okay, so everything in the final plat is pretty much what the residents actually.
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Okay. Okay, and one other question, I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer this question. You know, the hurricane, everyone had flooding. They want to know, how can you ensure where the waterway is, there is now going to be no more flooding, and how to minimize the noise from their kitchens?
Okay, starting with the flooding, LPGA was designed probably 30 years ago when they did the DRI, and there was a master drainage plan that was permitted and approved with the golf course construction. So with these particular phases, we're expanding the lakes, but most of the stormwater management's already shared with the golf course fairways to the west. So when you get 20-plus inches of rain in a 24-hour period,
Correct.
you know, I've lived here my whole life, and we've had some good rains, but I think to think that you get that much rainfall and you're not going to have some ponding water on yards or perhaps in roadways for a period of time is asking for too much. I think that as long as water didn't go in people's garages or houses, when you have a catastrophe like we had with those 2 hurricanes this year, you're going to expect some localized flooding. But LPGA, it's at a much higher elevation than the land to the east, so it's got overland relief, unlike some places that, like New Smyrna, for example, that have riverine flooding that comes up, and on Beach Street, there's another example in Daytona. That's not out at LPGA, so you know, we have pretty rigorous criteria that we have to meet for the city as well as the Water Management District, which we've met or exceeded. So
I would have to agree with you. Living in Pelican Bay for almost 25 years, first time we've ever flooded. So, and that's it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
anybody else? All right, thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. No additional questions. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. Moving on to 9D is the Public Works approval of the preliminary and final plat for Phase 2 of Grand Champion subdivision. This is a resolution public hearing. A resolution approving the preliminary and final plat for the Grand Champions Phase 2, a single-family residential subdivision containing approximately 126 lots on 21 plus or minus acres, generally located north of West International Speedway Boulevard, west of the Tomoka River, and south of Champions Drive, authorizing the city manager to sign the final plat and permit recordation thereupon, meeting certain conditions precedent, and providing an effective date.
So move.
Have a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner Reed.
I have no additional speakers.
And no additional speakers. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. This motion carries 6-0.
Bless you. Bless you.
Yes, yes.
Moving on to item 9E, it's the approval of the preliminary and final plat for Phase 3 of Grand Champion subdivision, a resolution public hearing. A resolution approving the preliminary and final plat for the Grand Champions Phase 3, a single-family residential subdivision containing approximately 128 lots on 27 plus or minus acres, generally located north of West International Speedway Boulevard and west of Tomoka River and south of Champions Drive, authorizing the city manager to sign the final plat and permit recordation thereupon meeting certain conditions precedent and providing an effective date.
So move.
We have a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner Henry,
I have no additional speakers.
and no additional speakers. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 10, which is our administrative items. Item 10A is the City Manager's Office Citizen Police Review Board. This is an introduction of an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance amending Section 58-200 of the City Code regarding the Citizens Police Review Board to incorporate that the board shall include one member nominated by the mayor and one member nominated by each city commissioner, and for any vacancies created to be nominated by the same city commissioner or mayor, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So move.
And are there any questions or comments from the, it's okay. Okay,
I just wanted to make sure that Mrs. Traeger had nominated somebody last time. I don't know if anyone looked for me.
Yes, I think all commissioners had someone about.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
You just, well,
She just wanted to make sure that there was an appointment
Oh,
from Commissioner Traeger, which originally was appointed.
there was. Okay.
so if there's no other questions, the public hearing and final action will be May 17th.
Okay.
Okay, and item 10B was pulled from the agenda, so our final item is 10C, is the city commission discussion on lighting and cameras.
You don't do that, though. You don't do that without him?
No, I'm going to say something. Commissioner, since one of the primary individuals in reference to the cameras is not here, I want to ask that we move this meeting, this discussion. However, as we look at our camera proposals, we're trying to find a way to fund this not only in next year's budget, but also in this year's budget. So we've, Hassam, he's coming in, even though he won't speak until the next meeting because Commissioner Strickland will be here. We've identified key spots throughout all of your zones where we need to improve some of our cameras. If you recall, Mayor, when I first got here, you asked for the lighting study. So we'll be bringing that all back, trying to figure out if there are some opportunities for partnerships, if there are some ARPA funds also available from certain commissioners in their zones, because we don't have the budget for it now. When we just look at our cameras, it's about $567,000 for those cameras, and lighting will go from about $500,000 to $1 million. And so we want to try to make sure we can budget in our upcoming year, but also look at some of the key spots. So at the next meeting, we'll bring this back for discussions, but we'll have, prior to that, we'll send out maps so you can know your locations as well as what we're trying to do so we can improve and implement the lighting that we need in certain areas throughout the city.
Okay, very good. All right.
Okay.
There's, okay, that
Yep.
concludes our regularly scheduled commission business. Who was first tonight?
Commissioner Paris.
Commissioner Paris?
In the past 45 days, our community has lost some of its biggest advocates. In Zone 1, we had Bridgeport Heights, we lost Randy Gray. In Midtown, or as she called it growing up, Newtown, Miss Patricia Hurd. And Commissioner Strickland's wife, Deb, also passed away suddenly. My deepest condolences to their families and their friends. I'm honored to have met them, and they were very passionate in what they stood for, and it is going to be a very big loss for the community. We had discussed about doing a memorial bench, and I was talking to the city manager, and he's working with staff to get something standardized. So if people in the community do want to contribute to a bench in honor of lost residents, we could keep it standardized for all of our parks. So that should be coming up on the next agenda meeting. I didn't really have that much for this week, but I want to say that we had a great seafood event. A lot of the residents in Zone 1 said that they had a good time, the ones that attended. And also the housing fair too is a lot of good information and resources that I had received. So if any residents need any information, if they weren't able to attend, just let me know and we'll get you that information. And I just want to wish Ann Ruby a happy birthday today. Thank you for being such a concerned resident, Ann. It's much appreciated. And I also found out she shares a birthday with Ruth Traeger. So happy birthday, Mrs. Traeger, as well.
It's going to be a party on
Yeah.
Beachside.
And that's it. Thank you.
She's here at the commission meeting.
Thank you so much for your kind words, Commissioner Paris. I think you've summed it up for me with regard to all of the past things in the past week and past month. I will say that the housing fair went really well. People came out to look at the container modular home that we had. Their feedback was positive. Over 200 people went through the model itself and more as well. And they were noted and documented by Ms. Lucy Desmore. And then in the audience, we have the gentleman from SNAP. There you are, Ms. Lucy. The gentleman, Chad, from SNAP Solutions is here also. And I'm hoping that you will indulge us, Mr. Mayor, by allowing the person with the container units, the SNAP space gentleman, would you raise your hand again? Thank you so much, to give us a 10-minute presentation at our next meeting on May 15th and possibly discuss how we can implement this in our city at some level. But we can do 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, efficiency units as well, and it might be a really good way to use some of the land that is irregular in shape. Again, thank you, Commissioner Reed, for a great seafood festival. People were very much excited and enthused about it. Thank you for all your work. And that is it. Thank you.
Yeah, let's make sure that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
And staff is working on something. So hopefully, if they're not ready for that meeting, then they'll be ready to help us later, but
Perfect.
certainly, great.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you.
I would just like to send my condolence to Pat Hurst's family and the whole entire Shiloh family. There will be a service for her at Shiloh Baptist Church at 11 a.m. on Monday. She was a member of Shiloh, as I am as well. Also, we are having our 4th of July parade again. This will be our 3rd annual, and our veteran ceremony at the Clock Tower, which will start at 9 o'clock. And this year, our honoree will be Larry Buck, who was a Marine. And he actually was a Daytona Beach PD for 31 years. So, also, Mr. Jagger, I know that the rental vacations, that something passed in the Senate actually today. If you could explain a little bit about that bill that just went through. It hasn't been signed by the governor. But
I'd be glad to. Commissioner Cantu had called me yesterday, I believe, and asked me to look at a couple of bills that were before the legislature concerning vacation rentals. Senate Bill 714 was actually approved today with some amendments. The House bill version has been tabled, but I think at this point it's anticipated this will go through for approval. As you all know, vacation rentals have been an issue of concern for our community, and not so long ago we submitted a question to the AG. This legislation, I think, will impact the answer to that question that we'd previously presented. So just to summarize, what was done, let me start by saying vacation rentals are generally regulated by the state, and the legislation currently provides for state licensure of vacation rentals and also for licensure and regulation of the rental platforms like Airbnb. The cities are generally preempted from any regulation. The preemption, and I'll just read it to you so everyone's familiar with it again. A local law, ordinance, or regulation may not prohibit vacation rentals or regulate the duration or frequency of rental of vacation rentals. And so that's it. I mean, that's what we sent to the AG, asking if we could potentially add vacation rentals in certain areas on the beach side. AG came back and said no, that by adding you violated the preemption because you created some haves and some have-nots. There is in the existing regulation a grandfather clause, as we call it. It says this paragraph, what I just read, does not apply to any local law, ordinance, or regulation adopted on or before June 1st, 2011. And of course, Daytona Beach has regulations which prohibit vacation rentals in much of the city, but allows them in tourist districts and some redevelopment areas. What the new law does, these new bills, what they do is they create additional room for the city to work in with regard to vacation rentals. They create new exceptions, if you will, in addition to the grandfathering clause. So number one, it allows for amendment of the pre-2011 regulations, which are less restrictive. So if we were to come back now, I believe, with a amendment to the LDC to allow vacation rentals in certain areas, I don't believe we would lose our grandfathered status for the pre-2011 regulations. Secondly, the new regulations allow for the city to issue registration requirements for all vacation rentals. There's not a lot we can do with that registration requirement. We can essentially know where they exist, but there's not any regulation beyond just submitting an application to the city and approving that. And then finally, you can adopt new regulations as long as they are, again, less restrictive than your pre-2011 regulations. So that's essentially what the bulk of the new legislation addresses. There are other provisions about the application process and what can be required as part of that, but as a short summary, this is what is allowed.
So that means when you asked the Attorney General, I think you brought it forward, we originally was told no, but with the new bill that will probably be signed by the governor, we will be able to do that now, correct?
Well, I don't want to be that conclusive,
But-
because, it's all new and we don't really
Correct.
know what the courts will do with it, but it would appear to me at least that we would be able to go forward to be less restrictive by allowing additional areas within the city to have vacation rentals.
Okay. Okay, I appreciate it. And my next one, I want to see, I don't know if anybody's ready. I would like to see if we could get a presentation on the Live Local Act bill that was passed and signed by the governor.
Yeah, staff has been meeting on that.
There was some good things in there, but there was some things I wasn't very happy with.
Right, I believe there's a
And we
meeting.
lost a local authority too,
I
correct?
believe there's a meeting today with Mr. Gross and Mr. Morris, and so we can put something together for next meeting if you'd like.
Okay, I appreciate it. And that's about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Henry?
Also, Commissioner Cantu is looking for bands and other groups to be in her parade. So I just wanted to say, in addition to the parade, we're looking for people who would participate. I'm going to try and get some of the bands. I know it's summertime, but if you know of any other groups that would like to participate, the Beachside group did a wonderful job at the parade. That would be great. So we did have our parade for our Champions Day parade that the mayor declared Champions Day, and it was amazing. We had tons of groups to come out and perform. Lots of people came out and celebrated the city, and then we went over to the ballpark, and we had a big celebration over at the ballpark. And I was thinking next year maybe it would be a great idea to do Champions Day again. It was a great way to bring the city together, a great way for the children to feel supported and loved by their community and their village. And maybe we can even consider bringing in some of the college students from both colleges, because the college students from both colleges participated in the parade. We had the athletics department from Embry-Riddle, and we had the athletics department from Bethune-Cookman. And therefore, since they too won some great championships, MEAC championships, and SWAC. They won some SWAC championships, and that would be a great way for us to start including our college students and making them feel a part of the city, as opposed to not just being here for 4 years and gone. Also, let's see. I wanted to express my condolences to all of the many loss that we have had in the past 45 days. Commissioner Parrish summed it up very well. We're going to be prayerful for all of those families. We're going to support our fellow Commissioner Ken and lift him up as much as he needs from his fellow commissioners. We're going to be there for him. I know I especially plan to be there for him in whatever he needs, just even if it's just a word of encouragement or a call to check in and see how he's doing. Let's see, I think that was it for, also, the last thing that I wanted to say was when community meetings happen for commissioners in their zone, I would like going forward, I discussed this with city manager and city attorney, to make sure that that commissioner knows of those meetings when new projects are coming to their zone. I missed a meeting that I felt like was very important, and when I met with the people who wanted to come and do the project, they said to me that, oh, everybody in the community loved this project. And I'm like, when was the meeting? Because I didn't talk to everybody in the community, so I just can't support something when I haven't talked to the people in that community. And if you said 50 people showed up, just if we could just get an email that says, hey, there's a community meeting this particular day for a project that's coming to your zone, that would be great. And I think those are my final comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, wait, one last thing, sorry. I went to the housing fair and I brought greetings from the city, and the housing fair, it was my first time going to one. It was really wonderful. Miss Desmore did a fantastic job. They had so many lenders there and so many families that I got a chance to talk to who were excited about possible home ownership. And I think and I hope that we can do more in going forward, more than just one, and on different sides of town. So I definitely would like to do one over at YSG and help promote that over in the community as well. It was a wonderful opportunity to meet banks, lenders, realtors, and just our constituents who want a pathway to home ownership, which is at the forefront of what this commission is trying to do right now. So definitely enjoyed that, Ms. Desmore. It was wonderful. And the container house, wonderful. Loved the container house. Definitely wanted to pick it up and take it and put it right on the side of my yard for my mom. So, because she said she's tired of paying rent. So, would definitely love to do that. Thank you so much.
Because I usually do that, so I'm like, are you through?
Yeah, I was looking at you like, yes, you do.
First of all, let me just say thank you for allowing us to celebrate the life of Freddie Seymour this evening. I know the mayor had to leave the service early and we didn't have an opportunity to read the proclamation, which is why we did that tonight. As I stated earlier, she was indeed a lady. Old school. Old school. I mean, the gloves, the hats, all that. Dressed to the hill, as my mother would say. Each of you received communications from LaQuetta McGill in regards to the inaugural Juneteenth 5K. If you would consider supporting that, we would greatly appreciate it. It is just building upon our Juneteenth celebration. It will be that Saturday the 17th, but it's early in the morning, so it doesn't interfere with the celebration of Juneteenth. It kicks off Juneteenth. So if you would check your emails and consider supporting that, I would greatly appreciate it. Yes, this sand crab participated in the Mainland Parade, and I was a proud sandbuck. That school is in my zone and it's in my city, and those are our children, and we celebrated them well. And I thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that vision. The Seafood Festival. Well, we almost called it. We met on that Friday at 9 a.m. because of what the weather was saying. And we vacillated and we called the vendors and we talked amongst ourselves, and then we just realized that you want fresh seafood. And these vendors had invested in purchasing, these foods, and it just would not have been fair. We talked about pushing it back to this Saturday, but then we realized that there's been a loss in the city's family as well. Our Vincent Terry lost his mother, and a good few city members will be sojourning to almost the Lake City to support him, so they couldn't have helped with my seafood festival. So we just thought, you know what? It could be on any day that it could rain. We're just gonna go ahead and do it. And it didn't rain until 5:30. And then it rained for like 10 minutes and stopped.
Yep.
You know, they had packed up my tent, my chairs, kicked me off the scene, and I was like, but it stopped raining. But once again, some of the vendors ran out of food, which is a good thing. And I think by us honoring the date that we had established well in advance, that it just, you know, we just kept our word. And it'll make them want to come back again next year. So I thank each and every one of you for your support of that. But I also want to thank the city staff, because I'm telling you, they have met with me for like the last 4 months, every other Friday. Betty Goodman has led the charge with Vince, Keith Willis on her side. Vincent, Pam has been keeping all of our notes. Caitlin has walked up and down that street about 50 times. I asked for an extra golf cart this year because last year I thought the child was going to wear herself out because it was her first year. I thought she was trying to prove something, but she's a walker. She doesn't mind. Sandy and Susan and Josh from Communications did an excellent job of spreading the word, and I believe in letting everybody know what's going on, so I just can't thank staff enough for that. Last but not least, Brittany Presley. That was our consultant, our champion of vendors, and she did an excellent job. She, staff has commended her on her communication with us this year. We sat down and we really defined what we wanted that seafood festival to look like, so we thank Brittany Presley for what all she did as well. So we've talked about the losses that we've had. A great voice has been silenced in Zone 6. And I wondered that Wednesday night why she was not here. I guess she just wasn't feeling well because it was on Thursday that it happened for Pat Hurd. We have heard her voice the 11 years I've sat in this seat. We've heard her voice throughout this community, standing up for right, standing up for what Pat wanted right, and just standing. And she will greatly be missed. And again, as Commissioner Cantu stated, her service will be on Monday at 11, the 8th at Shiloh Baptist Church. So I intend to be there to support that family as well. That concludes my comments.
Mayor, can I?
Yes, ma'am,
I
you
forgot
can.
one thing. Also, I would, Tim Riddle, he passed away. He was the director for the Ocean Center, so I'd like to send our condolence to the county council and their staff and Mr. Riddle's family as well. And I believe when I was watching the county council meeting, he was going to be buried back in Tennessee where he was from. So,
Okay.
and I know he worked real close with our staff, correct?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I usually don't have this many comments, so y'all hush.
It's all right.
Mrs. Hurd told us to ensure that those children got to Carnegie Hall. And I told Mrs., what's their choir director's name?
Portier.
That I would get back with her. So I want to make sure that those children get to go to Carnegie Hall. So I'd like to give $500, please, to the children's choir so that they can go to Carnegie Hall.
Okay.
Thank
Is
you.
that from your Bike Week funds? Well, what difference does it make? You're saying,
Because
Which
she's
one?
got a lot in both of her pots. You're right.
which one do you,
I'd like it, please, from the ARPA funds.
okay,
Thank you.
okay, all right.
So my
look
contribution
at
wasn't
that.
recognized. It got lost somewhere. So if you'll go ahead and add mine, since this is the Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune Children's Choir, $1,000. ARPA.
Okay.
You want to make sure the children get there.
I'll do $1,000 for the children to get to Carnegie Hall.
Okay. She would. She would. She would. Well, on Saturday or next Monday for the homegoing celebration for Mrs. Hurd, I will be participating in the celebration of life. And much of what you said is along the lines of what I will share with our community. I've known Ms. Hurd since I was 10, 12 years old. And she was heard. And that's what I will say. She was heard. And one of the great things about life is that when someone is heard, when they live is one thing, but to be heard in your passing is another. And that's a quite more difficult challenge. And for me, as long as I'm up here, she will be heard. And so when you sit up here with one another, one of the happiest, proudest, best days of my tenure was the championship parade. And I want to thank all of you. All of you were present. And I appreciate it. And I think the children appreciate it. And what I can say to you all is that I have had children that I didn't know just come up and hug me. And I have had children come up and fist bump me and just give me that eye of gratitude. And I've had others just say, hey, I know you. Hey, I was on Imperial Drive yesterday, and I got out of the car, and this kid says, hey, you're the mayor. And I said, yes. And so what I'm saying is that what we did is much more than you think. We also increased our visibility, and we sent a message to those children that said that you matter. We see you. We value you. And in turn, they see us, and then we're not some folks that sit high and that they have to look up to. They see us as someone that's approachable, part of their community, and they'll begin to see us as servants. So I do believe that it is a good idea to plan and prepare and plan to do something similar next year in a bigger way. That, you know, and haven't talked about this yet, but there may be a way to, you know, we had over 50 organizations, 50 groups participated. That's not a little bit. That's a big parade. So there may be a way for us next year, as she said, to bring out more Wildcats, bring out more folks from Riddle, from DSC, and you got a Mainland, got a Seabreeze. There may be a way to marry it all. Well, Atlantic's not in Daytona Beach, but they got a lot of kids that go there, but so does Spruce Creek. But the first thing is bring those two, you know, and it's a part of our heritage and of our coming together. So, you know, let's all keep that in mind, and maybe that's where we go next year to make it an even bigger, better celebration of our children, because you had bands from Turie, West Side. So then it could become something where we celebrate all of our children. I told you all last week, a month ago, that we're planning a Mayor's Scholars Celebration, where all of 8 of our schools that are not high schools, their children will be, who are scholars, will take rides in limousines. The letters are being written. We're going to ask the businesses to host them for lunch. They take a ride in the limousine that's paid for by someone else, sponsored, and then we take them to Sky Zone or somewhere else, just 8 of them. And we say, you are scholars. You are our future engineers. You are our future doctors. You are our future commissioners, mayors, whatever it is, city managers, all of those things, because I tell you, our children see us, and we made a difference. So let's keep all of that in mind as we move forward. Thank you for our swim program. Swimming, as you all know, is another important issue for me. And if you have a baby, Baby and Me Swim Program. And that is hosted by our city. One of the first things that I did as a parent with a pool of young babies was take them to infant swimming lessons. Could hardly sleep at night, and they couldn't crawl, but they could learn how to swim, or engage in the process of being able to save themselves if they found a way into the pool without parental help. So let's be supportive of that. If you're listening, get children out to swimming lessons. And if we have issues with kids that can't afford swimming lessons, that's what ARPA funds are for. So, we will make certain that we support that moving forward. And finally, my condolences, and my heart is broken for my brother Ken. And I have prayed, and I will continue to pray for him, that he be strengthened, and that we all, in our own ways, do what we can to let him know that we are with him, and that we're here for him. Mr. Manager.
Yes, a couple of items. The Baby and Me program, I don't know if they will allow for me to bring my grandson this year. He screamed the entire time, but they kept ducking him under the water. Glad that my wife was not with us at the program, because somebody would have been sued. But my grandson is doing better, and he will be back for the summer to learn how to swim. I do want to say that about Pat Hurd. Pat Hurd was one of the first individuals that I met here, and she made me go around with her to look at her neighborhood, and that she is the mayor of. And I have numerous pictures, and I don't know why she wanted to take pictures with me, and she would look at me and say, I want to just see if it's you. And Hassam and I were with her at the mosque, 2 weeks ago. That was our last. And if you know, at the mosque, there's a area for the ladies to pray and the men to pray. Pat Hurd was throughout the entire mosque, and they just... So that just, she was looking for Sam and looking for her city manager, and Sam is gonna get kicked out because he just told her to just come on, just come on and walk through. But she was who she was, and for her to be accepted within all faiths and religions, and really people knew her. That was great. So that was our last time. And think about Tim Riddle at the Ocean Center. We just met with him as a staff. He was trying to figure out how we can partner more with the city of Daytona Beach to start bringing in larger acts again to the Ocean Center to stop people from going to Jacksonville, St. Augustine, in Orlando for major concerts. We had just had a meeting with him at City Hall to see him passed away. And as you say, Vincent Terry, one of our supervisors in Parks and Rec, his mom passed away. And like she said, many staff members will travel to Lake City. In reference to Commissioner Strickland and his wife, let's definitely keep him in prayer. That was his sweetheart. His real sweetheart, and she would probably step in front of a train for Commissioner Strickland. But I've communicated with him, and he thanks everyone from their prayers. There will be a celebration of life for Deb on May the 11th at Our Lady of Lourdes at 11 a.m. And if anybody would like to do any type of contributions to a charitable organization in Deb's name, Deb Jernigan, it can be done to the First Step Shelter. Is one of the charitable entities, or the American Kidney Fund. So those two groups, we'll make that available to anyone. We've had some individuals call in wanting to make contributions on our behalf, so we'll make sure that information is available.
Okay.
And that concludes my report.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, I do have one. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be like y'all, but on Thursday, I will be out of the office Thursday, Friday, and Monday. And during my absence, Deputy City Manager Driscoll will handle the operations of the City Manager's office. Both myself as well as Deputy City Manager Morris will be out, but Drew Driscoll, Deputy City Manager and Fire Chief, will handle the operations for the City Manager's office.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney?
Nothing further. I would like to add my sympathies to Commissioner Strickland, and our office will be making a donation to First Step Shelter in honor of her life.
Okay, thank you. All right, this time we'll hear from our residents.
Okay, our first speaker is Marjorie Johnson, and on deck is John Navarra.
Marjorie Johnson, 122 South Keith Street. I heard the prayer tonight that was done by Ms. Reed, that you would turn from your wicked ways. I was angered at the last meeting by Stacy Cantu, who spoke out of turn. These people are speaking out of turn. They are not waiting for Derek Henry to recognize them. She blurted out something about the Army Corps of Engineers study. Well, this same study was done 10 years ago, back in 2010 when the former mayor was here, Glenn Ritchie, and nothing became of it. And so these people's houses was flooded out. Everything was messed up. They've been sitting there for years. This issue has never been addressed. These commissioners, all three, are speaking out of term. I was president of the NACP. You recognize people. They speak when you recognize them. They just blurt out, oh, did you know the Army here? She tried to look down on people and make her little condescending remarks. This is not necessary. You are here to do the people's work, and we pay you to do your work. We pay you a big salary. So I would like to say tonight that this needs to be addressed. This is a discrimination. This is unfair treatment. You took us out of the city commission meeting, and I am the only person that stood at this podium and made you put us back. You should have never taken away our rights to speak in a public meeting. Then you're putting flags on seats telling people to sit. That same man was honored, Lynn Thompson, over at the county. They didn't put any signs on any seats. And Brown & Brown, the richest man in Daytona, comes here all the time. He never had any tags put on seat. And then I was insulted by Bette Presley and her little boy. They bring the police, say, go outside. You know, this is a nightmare. I got here and advocated for you to have your jobs. Derek Feature, I stayed here from 3 o'clock to 11 o'clock. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And I pray that you all will get rid of all these lawsuits that's coming through here. And Stacy Cantu walked out. She got up and made a negative comment. These people need to be recognized by the chair. You need to go back and take some more lessons on how to run a meeting. So I would say to you tonight, let's try to improve the way you operate this city. We never had this under Glenn Ritchie. We didn't have it under Larry Kelly, and we didn't have it under the rest of them. This is the worst I've ever seen it. We sit here and talk about football in mainland. I don't care for football. I'm a basketball fan. Thank you.
Go Bucks.
Okay. Our next speaker is John Navarro, and on deck is Bob Hitella.
John Navarra, 168 Springwood Drive. The Faith Organization, we've been meeting constantly since the hurricanes that hit, and we've been looking for solutions on how to help our city. The best solution that I have heard in all our meetings was we took a look one meeting at the destruction in New Jersey with the Storm Sandy, and some communities fared much better than others. The storm was able to reveal how sturdy some cities were able to keep their homes. And the best recommendation I can get is that proper sand dunes are an excellent investment as far as I was able to determine. And the sand dunes also have to have the plant life in order to keep the sand dunes together, because just sand itself will be eroded right out with the ocean. But the proper sand dunes did protect homes in a really supportive way, and the communities that did not invest in proper sand dunes faced major destruction. And some communities fared really well, and it was really intriguing to see those pictures, if you could possibly take a look. And the sand dunes do cost a lot of money. Some communities might say, well, is it worth an investment? But I'm just throwing hypotheticals out, no firm figures, but if you invested, let's say, $24,000 in the sand dunes and you were able to protect houses that are each worth $400,000, your money is well spent. And so that's the determination I had from looking at all that. I'll definitely admit that I'm a high school American government teacher. I'm not a scientist. I have never worked with sand dunes, but I really was impressed by the recommendation from the sand dunes and seeing those pictures and seeing what could be done to help our city. I know we've got a lot of seacoast, and having the sand dunes, it might be quite a big investment, but there may be a way to do the investment and protect the cost to the city, but yet protect things that are much more valuable. That would be the best recommendation I can have for the city, and we're going to keep researching. I run in from being a high school teacher. I run to the computer some days, and we're on Zoom meetings with city officials from around the country, from scientists, from everyone from every walk of life that could possibly give us information to help our city. So we're doing the best we can, and I'll keep in touch with you for any recommendations that I can give in the future, and research anything I tell you, because as I say, I'm not the expert, but I can recommend certain things. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Our next speaker is Bob Hietala, and on deck is Carmen Clark.
Good evening. I work for Premier Resort Management. My name is Bob Hietala. I run the Holiday Inn and Suites. I'm the new general manager there. Want to thank you for your time. I was working with Rose Askew to get a special event permit for Daytona, Daytona, which has been coming to our city for 20, 25 years. Got a little behind and didn't quite follow the right protocol, but we're a little late. And Rose asked me to come in front of the commissioners and ask for that permit to be approved. And I had made a few adjustments to the permit request, so here I am.
Where's Jim? Is Jim over there at Morris? Or did he leave? He left here already. Okay. Can you tell us about, I don't understand. He's asking for us to approve something. Does it need an extension or?
Well, it starts May 9th to the 14th, and we were about 3 or 4 days behind the 30-day permit process.
We have this information. If we could follow up with you in the morning, sir.
Oh, that's fine. All right. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Don't sound like you're gonna make it if it needs our approval, though.
Okay, our next speaker is Carmen Clark, and on deck is John Nicholson.
Someone might want to catch that gentleman. You may want to catch it, because he may not make it if he.
Sir, would you come back in, please?
Do you wanna
He's going out the door, Kim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See if you can catch Mr. Morris, maybe.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you,
Go ahead.
ma'am. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Good afternoon, Mayor and his commission and the city attorney. I am here, okay, I'm gonna say this. I'm trying to give you all the opportunity. You're not actually liable up under the ADA to provide a low podium, but it would be nice and convenient for those who do come in here in the same situation that I'm in, so they could rest and put their stuff up here. Okay, I'm here in regards to the community that I live in, 850 North Clyde Morris Boulevard. We have had several cars stolen from our community. We have had individuals coming through, knocking on our residents' apartments, 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, we have had some of our residents who are older who walk their dogs 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning. There has been individuals coming through, checking cars to see if they're unlocked, to do whatever they are going to do to the cars. I have called the police department several times for the past 2.5 weeks. Nobody has gotten back to me. I did speak, I shouldn't say that. I did speak to Officer Gillespie, and he said a lieutenant was going to get back to me, which has not happened. I'm very concerned, because there's a lot of elderly people that live in our community, and I also feel that a police officer, something should be sitting out visible in the middle of the night, because the officer did tell me that a officer could be appointed there like 9 to 3 o'clock in the morning or all day. So, and also the homeless situation is still going on behind Building 1. Now they're walking through our property and going through our trash can. So I'm really concerned about that also. I don't know what can be done, because when you pull in the homeless, you're going to have a place for them to go. But it's a concern, and I just feel that it should be addressed by whom, I don't know. But I thought that the chief of police was going to be here, or his deputy chief. I was told it was going to be present at the meeting also.
Is Code here? Is Denzel here?
No, ma'am. He's left.
Okay, all right.
Oh, somebody's.
Okay.
Chief, please.
I only have, 30, I mean,
It's stopped.
Yeah, I stopped it.
you say you have all the notes.
From what you were just stating.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I can get with you after.
Okay, thank you. And my condolences goes, for Mr. Strickland, because his wife and I, we went to Mainland High School together. We were friends while we were in high school, and of course, I'm going to miss Miss Pat Hurd. She's a very good friend of my family, especially my parents. And also, I heard two words, Lake City.
Me too.
Right.
Yes, that's our birthplace. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I heard that too. I didn't know that Mr. Terry was from Lake City. Yeah. That's where our parents are from.
Oh, yeah.
Our dad.
Carmen, before you leave, how did your program turn out?
Oh, it was so awesome. Thank you for the I'm on the board of directors. I'm not the founder, so I didn't want to speak on her behalf.
That's all right, but it was
however,
nice?
It was great.
Good.
It was a good turnout, and it was very informative, and people were very shocked with the information that was given. But next year, we'll be on a larger platform. We got the Hard Rock Cafe was donated for us to use next year for the second annual event. So it was really good. Yes, thanks for asking. Yes.
Good. Thank you.
Good job. Keep speaking out.
Speaking out of turn. Admonishing people for speaking out of turn, and then they speaking out of turn. That's not right, Mr. Mayor.
No, ma'am.
Our next speaker is John Nicholson. And on deck, I believe it's Kendra Martin. Mr. Nicholson was first, yep.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. Again, I would like to also express my sympathy for Ken on the passing of his wife. On Pat Hurd, she's been a fixture here for 10, 20 years. And then to Tim Riddle, I got to know him very well. And they all passed within a couple of days of each other. So it was really a blow to the city of Daytona Beach, because we lost some really stringent people. Secondly, did you read the newspaper on the bar in the Breakers Bar in New Smyrna Beach? The very last line talks about the city of Daytona Beach being a has-been, that nobody goes to Daytona Beach anymore. So they're saying that everybody goes to New Smyrna Beach. So I'm asking you at some point in the future that we look at our tourism industry and see if we're doing everything that we can for our tourism industry. I would also like to say happy birthday to Ann. I don't think she's as old as Ruth Traeger, but if Monica says she's that old, that's fine with me. I was at the county council yesterday, and during one of the presentations, I heard time after time the gentleman was talking about the traffic lights in the county and in all 15 cities. And he says, except for the city of Daytona Beach. Then he talked about something else, except for the city of Daytona Beach. We do all of this except for the city of Daytona Beach. We have an agreement with Florida Department of Transportation, except for the city of Daytona Beach. So apparently, everybody in the county and the county are together except for the Daytona Beach on streetlights and weight signs and whatnot. So I'm asking us to take a look at the traffic lights and the systems. Apparently, I was told that we couldn't afford it years ago when they were all consolidating. If we can at this point, and if it's cheaper, I would ask us that we look at it. The container homes, thank you, Juanita. She invited me to look at the homes, talked to the gentleman for a while, and the container homes, the one they presented, is not the finished product. They can put wraparounds, cement, wood, vinyl siding, all kinds of things, so it doesn't look like a container home. So, and he said that to max out everything would be less than $100,000. So if you wanted brick or vinyl or whatever, even at $100,000, it's quite reasonable. So I'm asking you to take a look at that. And lastly, the redistricting. I talked to a couple of previous commissioners. We do have the ability, if the city commission chooses to do so, that we can look at the redistribution. If, like Paula said, we're 78,000, University of Miami or University of Florida says 79, almost 80,000. We are going to have one district with 20,000 people with the possibility of 40,000 by the end of the decade.
Thank you,
It's
sir.
unreasonable.
Okay, our next speaker is Kendra Martin, and then we're going to give Mr. Morris an opportunity after the speaker.
Great evening to all.
Good evening.
I would like to start by saying first, I never pledge allegiance to this flag because it doesn't serve no great justice for us all. It really doesn't. To the commissioner, the mayor, and the city of Daytona officials, I, Prima J, is a continuing tenant, business operator, and a taxpayer here in the state of Florida, city of Daytona Beach, who is receiving not only differential treatment, but discrimination upon operations as a clothing retailer. As you may know, the city of Daytona Beach, or should I say Mr. Rozek and Ms. Rose Askew, is not only disentitling me, but also going off disparagement of a verbal disagreement between Ms. Askew and I. From my understanding, there is no disparity in reference to display rights and or this domicile. In summary, the duration of due process clause is affecting me and my business and need immediate assistance to the corrections and justice. I travel all around the countries in the world, and I never experienced nothing like this. Never. And I'm a young, growing woman who's trying to better herself, not only for myself, but for my child and my future children. And this has become just such a problem to me that one little slip of paper to go into business, not only with myself, but with you guys, that I can't sit here and contain the proper paper. So everything that I ever talked about or we ever had a conference about, I do have a video of. And at this point, it's been going on longer than 90 days. And I've just, in reference, I just really want to take this to Channel 2 News. Good. You know, Because I feel like the city is preying on the innocence and weakness of single mothers at this point. Because if the federal can sit here and give me a paper, what's wrong with the city? Thank you.
Business located?
Yeah, 618 North Ridgewood Avenue.
Okay, and can you tell me more what kind of issue you're having with?
Well,
because I don't quite understand what issue you're.
they were saying something in the zoning areas and things of that sort of the nature is wrong with me setting up and, you know, operating a business. But literally the guy across the street from me does the same thing. Now, he may not be a custom seamstress like me, but I myself, I see that we do the funding of the same thing. I did everything Ms. Rose at school asked me to do as far as upbring the shop to current up to dates. She still hasn't sent anybody to come and, you know, inspect it or just do what's necessary. It's been over 90 days. I'm still paying fair to you guys, and I feel like it's not fair to me that I just can't get this one paper that's affecting me and my family.
We'll ask Mr. Morris to have a conversation with you on the outside. He's our assistant city manager, deputy city manager.
Yes. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yes, thank you all.
Could you
Come here.
would you just please?
Mr. Morris, did you want to come back up?
All right. Yeah.
Mayor Commissioner Jim Morris, Deputy City Manager. You want to reintroduce yourself, sir?
Bob Heidler with PRM Hotels. I'm the general manager of the Holiday Inn and Suites in Daytona Beach.
So as I understand, this gentleman works the property, does the Dayton to Daytona, University of Daytona, Dayton, coming to Daytona. It's a hotel event I've heard of before. Explain a little bit to the commission about it, will you please, and your circumstances, and then I'll address that part.
Well, they come annually to Daytona Beach for 20-plus years. It's graduates and 21 and up, and also postgraduates. They all come from, like, this year it'll be May 9th to the 14th, and they'll have activities and music on the pool deck from 12 to about 3 every day.
Explain your circumstances of your development.
Well, I applied for a permit, and with the process of getting the check and redoing paperwork and stuff, we got within the 30-day window that we needed to get the permit issued. So working with Rose, she suggested I come to the commissioners' meeting to seek approval for being late.
He was advised because he was inside the 30-day limit, he had to get commission approval. I don't know of any process like that, but you asked me to come back and speak with him. We will attend to that tomorrow. I will be traveling, but I will do it from the road and make sure this gets addressed. It's an event that I have heard, not from him, but from others, has occurred annually for quite some time. It's a tradition for the students from Dayton to come to Daytona. And it's something, it's not Jeep Beach, but it's the same kind of idea. So I'll attend to that tomorrow, and then Ms. James and I will meet outside. I will also attend to that one tomorrow and get more details from her. I'm gonna get your contact information outside. And so Mayor, I'll speak to both folks and we'll work on that tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, our next speaker is Frederick Brown, and on deck is Kiana Long Hargett.
No.
Frederick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge, Daytona Beach. First of all, I am deeply saddened by the losses of this city. Ken's wife, Deb, of course, will be remembered. My prayers will continue to be with Ken. Patricia Hurd truly was a gift to this community. She was, in my opinion, a class act. I was always glad to see her at the meeting, and I will be saddened, but I know her voice will be speaking to you. If not, I will. That said, I wanted to talk about infrastructure before development. And I know you've passed a lot of things, and I've read a lot on the social media, and I've heard the statements, well, a lot of this happened before I was here. Well, some of you have been here when decisions, not in the same roles. But if we don't fix our infrastructure before development, Mr. Mayor, you may have a little tough time getting from home to work. As you're already aware of, we have problems now. And as was pointed out by Mr. Nicholson, we need to cooperate with the county to get this done. We need to have a strong voice there. Things like the Dunn Avenue extension and whatnot should have been done long before. The developments, and Mr. The representative from Parker Mecklenburg, excellent engineer, using 30-year-old standards. And as we know, there's been a lot of changes. He admitted it. My concerns, of course, are everything on that side. The water's going to go north in the Tomoka River and come right back down on Daytona, flooding Midtown, Newtown, and the golf course area. And to follow up on John Navarro's comments, redesign by design. Now, I'll ask you to watch the Dutch solution. I only still at this point know of two that even had an interest in it. I still implore you to do that. It is your duty as representatives. And speaking of duties as representatives, I do have to concur with what Ms. Marjorie Johnson had to say. There are certain individuals in the room who resort to things like character assassinations and condescending statements to citizens of Daytona. Leaders are always to be held to a higher standard. Those individuals will resort to that and then joke and think it's funny. Unfortunately, the city camera doesn't catch them in that mode, but it's sad to see that from our leadership here. There are a lot of other things. I was hoping to talk about the lighting improvements, and I wanted to talk about developing a task force for power and internet grids, something the city really needs to do, because it's obvious that the electric companies are not being responsible. They are not taking care of the lighting or the infrastructure in the city, and we're suffering.
Mayor?
Our next speaker is
Mayor,
Long Hargett.
I would like to respond to Frederick because I know exactly who he's talking about. But he referenced the Dunn extension, and I would just like him to know so he actually knows. That's why I try to answer the questions that you're asking. The Dunn extension, the county a month ago approved the design on that. And the Dunn extension is a county road.
Okay.
And on deck after Ms. Kiana is Kimberly Prince.
Good evening. I have a quick question. Because I have two things, am I able to get 2 sets of 3 minutes or just use one?
Just one.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My name is Kiana Long Harker. You all have known me as Kiana Griffin, but I've changed my name legally to my mom and my dad's name. So tonight, it's solemn for me because I'm not a politician, I'm a helper, and ever since I've come in this building, Ms. Hurd has been the one I ask the questions, what do I do, what paper do I get? And being a part of the Juneteenth committee, she was assigned to me and her to go to the local churches to get the help for the Juneteenth first time parade this year. And I'm excited that the marathon is gonna take place and everything is gonna fall into place. But I'm thankful for the communities, I'm thankful for my Levi Long Sickle Cell Association, so that's why I'm here. I'm here to ask for help because I just only know to help. At my organization, I do have a situation the same way with the young lady with my paper. I'm going to talk to Mr. Morris as well, over a year. But the good news is I've still been able to help. I've been able to help landlords come to the building and help get the people that needed the help on their rent. I've been able to help with food. I'm going to have a food drive right there in the area, and I would like to do a presentation the next meeting to show you all the things that I can do with the community, with the county, to feed the youth this summer. That's the only center we have because Keith Street has been destroyed from the hurricane. Gratefully, my building is still standing, and I'm able to help in the community. My ask for you all is to help whatever way you can financially to make sure my door is stay open to helping our community. We really need a lot of help in that area. My goal is to advocate, to aware, inspire, motivate, and educate the children and the adults that have sickle cell in our community. Also, the next 4 things that I need to ask is for, with Juneteenth, funding for being a partner with the Juneteenth Committee. This year, June 19th is always World Sickle Cell Day. And last year, I got all the funding. You all gave me the go-ahead. I went to the Daisy Stocking Park, and nobody came. It was Father's Day weekend, so I learned from that lesson I need to come together, and it's okay to come together with other organizations. And this year, our banquet is actually on the World Sickle Cell Day. And so December 22nd, 2008, the United Nations General Assembly adopted June 19th as World Sickle Cell Day. So if you all can give me some help in that area as well, funding-wise, to be a part of Juneteenth.
What do you need to be a part of Juneteenth?
Oh, with me being with them, just some funding to help as part of the World Sickle Cell Day that day, just funding for me too to come together as a nonprofit organization. Okay. That's all. Okay. Yes, sir. All right. Okay. Yes, ma'am, I do.
I understand.
Yes, I do. And for you all to help me keep the doors open, because I have a few more seconds. With me helping with keeping the doors open, I'm so grateful because thankful to Mr. Strickland, and I'm so sorry for his loss, but with his vision, I've been able to help, along with Ms. Carmen, help those to keep their homes and keep their vouchers and just do things in the community. I mean, whatever I can do, I've been able to do it, and I'm grateful for the center that I'm blessed with to be able to do that. So whatever I can do to help, and you all help me help others, I'll be grateful. Yes, thank you. Oh, I did good. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Kimberly Prince, and on deck is Thomas Copeland.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
I just want to address that I'm a homeowner for the first time, and I've been in my house almost 30 years. And during the storm and everything, I couldn't get help to get my house fixed. The insurance that I was having, they turned me down each time. So I took my mom in, it'd been like a year. My mom was diagnosed with double lung cancer, and I just lost her in February. And I never received no help from anybody. I never asked nobody to help me. But it's like now, I speak to my mortgage company. I fell behind on my mortgage. And every time I think a door open for me to get help, it's closed, each and every time. And it should be something out there where people struggling. I'm disabled, I'm on disability, struggling with kidney failure. But God blessed me to take care of my mom and see her 100% being taken care of. Yes, ma'am. And I do want that actually for myself. I don't know how much borrowed time I got, but I don't want to lose what I have. That's it. All I have is my house. Like I say, it's heartbreaking. I've been there 30 years, and it's like I ain't paid nothing off. And it was a 30-year mortgage. I mean, if you don't know nothing, and I was always told if you don't write it down, it means it didn't happen. But everything I did, I wrote down. And I don't understand how am I still 30 years. And I've been in the house going to be 30 years next year. And I ain't got nowhere. I'm still like $90-some thousand. And it's just heartbreaking for me to get out there on my own and try to do this. And it's like, I'm getting the doors closed everywhere I turn. Everything that I had, I put into the house. Every time the insurance turned me down, I had to give my disability check to get everything fixed. And it's like nothing. They didn't want to put a roof on the house. I got a tree in front of my house. It's the biggest tree I've ever seen in my life. And there's no way I can afford to cut it all down. But I cut it from limbs. I had a nephew that was spent the night with me, and we heard a crash. The big old tree, a limb, came through the house on the bed while he was laying there, and thank God it didn't kill him. because it was on top of him. And that tree now did so much damage, and I can't get nobody to help me remove it. I mean, it's just terrible.
I have a question for
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
First of all, did you participate in the grant program where the city was giving citizens assistance? Grant. This is nothing you have to pay back. Because if you
did
haven't,
some
it's still
talking.
available. Okay?
That's not
So
what they told me
we can
today.
help, well, we're gonna help you with that. And then Mrs. Desmore is standing up in the back. She's a realtor. She's willing to assist you as well. So if you would talk to her, and then if we have her name, let's get her information so that we can tell her about that grant. And where do you reside?
I live right off of Mason Avenue.
Okay.
What street?
I live on 140 Baywood Drive.
Baywood. And then there was money for lawn assistance to cut trees and remove
If it wasn't
trees.
exhausted, that's true.
And there's probably still money available.
We're gonna help
And
you.
I even dressed to the city, her name, Miss Mary Williams. I've been on that list for about 20-some years.
Oh, yeah, that's
And I
wow.
talked to Miss Williams, I signed up and everything.
That's
I
the
said,
roof
my
list?
house, you can't even open the windows because whoever lived there, it was a donation from the YMCA, and they let people that had to do community service live there.
I don't know if we-
So they painted the windows, you can't even budge them up. And I've been going through that, so I talked to Miss Williams, she told me,
Okay,
she says, talk to your congressman.
okay.
I said, huh? She said, talk to the congressman. She took me off the list. And now, this is where I'm at.
Okay. Well, it's marginal, but those are avenues. There's 3 avenues. One, talk with Ms. Desmore, and then there are 2 grant
We,
assistance programs that we may be able to
Ken
help.
Thomas will call her. She's
Yeah.
sending that
We'll-
information.
I
we'll
have
call
your
her.
information here, ma'am.
Thank you all so much.
And-
Bless you.
Thank you.
And here, ma'am,
140.
140 Baywood.
Baywood Drive.
That's your zone.
Ma'am. Okay.
okay,
Thank
and
you.
I'm gonna
Thank you all so much.
numbers that might be able to help you.
I can't talk to you from back there.
Okay, but
Just-
we heard you. We're gonna help
We
you.
heard you. We can't do business like that. Just talk with them and they'll help you as best they can. Black mold.
Okay.
That's another issue though.
Our next speaker is Thomas Copeland. On deck is Jenny Nazak.
Good evening, Mayor and honorable members of the commission. I'm Thomas Copeland, a long-term resident here in Daytona Beach, and I'm here to address an issue specifically with one of my properties at 802 Derbyshire. I've began receiving a plethora of violations alleging that I did not have a rental inspection license, and my contention was that the contractual agreement I had with the resident was not a rental agreement that subsequently went to court, and it was transferred to circuit court because the judge in my view saw it the same way. Well, to make a long story short, I kept continuing to try to communicate with Mr. Jackson, and subsequently ended up talking to Mr. Jagger, to where they were vacillating back and forth about what we're going to do and what I could do and what I. And so eventually I went and I applied for the rental license. I paid for it and signed the consent for the inspection and showed up there with code enforcement, and Mr. Sykes refused to do the inspection. So to make a long story short, I've had this property, several contracts to sell this property. And this issue with, when the title company did the search on the property, came up that it had a lien from the city of Daytona Beach. Now, it is my understanding that if you're out of compliance and you have code violations, that once you become in compliance, then you can go before the board and have those fines removed. I followed all those protocols to no avail. So I'm somewhat perplexed. What is the problem? If you tell me to do something and I do it, and then you still don't acquiesce, that's a problem. So what I would like, Mr. Mayor, in short, very simple. I complied. I have a letter from Mr. Jackson, right, Mr. Jager, I'm sorry, sir, right here that basically says, in short, says that As indicated in the prior email to you from Assistant City Attorney Jackson, dated 1/11/22, the city will not be pursuing an inspection warrant or further code enforcement actions for failure to obtain a rental license with regards to your property at 802 Derbyshire. So that's from the city attorney. So I would surmise that with that indication, why the fine's still on my property? I would just like to have the fines moving. I'll go away.
So the fines on the property are unrelated to the rental license issue.
No, they're not. No, sir, that is
Let me
incorrect.
speak, sir. There is an avenue, which you've mentioned, is to go before the code board and ask for a lien review and reduction. And of course, you can't even make the request unless you're in compliance. I don't know if you've done that or not, but that's how the liens are handled.
Now, you just stated in public record that the fines associated with this property are not germane to the rental license agreement, right?
No, what I'm saying is.
I have an entire dossier here,
Reduction
sir.
of the fine is unrelated to your current issue with regard to the inspection and your current rental license.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to ask you and the members of this commission to do your due diligence. I have a whole dossier here that will contradict everything that he just said. It's very simple. Just get rid of the fines and I'll go away peacefully and quietly, believe it or not. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jenny Nazak, and on deck is Lucy Desmore.
Jesus.
Good evening, everybody. Jenny Nazak, 501 Harvey. One of the things I love about our city is that we're really close, you know, the city officials and the citizens, we have a certain closeness, and when something happens to one of us, we can just all feel it very deeply. And so the recent passings of our fellow citizens are affecting us all, and the horrible flooding when people aren't still even back in their houses affects us all. It just does. And that's a good thing, and that we care about each other and that we try to help each other. I admire that our city, for our little bitty city of 70,000 people or whatever, can welcome so many tourists. Like we are totally able to welcome these, like, I don't know, millions? I mean, lots of people, lots. Like we have some infrastructure. Like we're able to accommodate a lot of tourists. And I live right in the middle of it all, and I actually really like it. I mean, sometimes I kind of stay in my house when there's a few too many people, but I'm like, hey, don't be greedy. You live right here. You can go here every day. You let them have the beach today. It's all right. But I love that. We don't have anything to be ashamed of in terms of how many tourists we're attracting or not. We're doing fine. And there's a lot of people in the business community that are working on niche events, like really cool different types of events. It's really great. We're going to attract as many tourists as we need to or want to. But the heart of our city is its residents. That's what makes the fabric of our city. That's what makes it great. Otherwise, if we're only attracting tourists and people are losing their houses or getting flooded out and can't come back, that's what we have to worry about. So I'm glad we're focusing on that. I'm glad we're focusing on different types of housing. I think the container houses are cool. On Beachside near me on Wild Olive, there's a bunch of Sears kit houses. They're from like the 1930s. You could order them from Sears Roebuck and build them out of a kit. And they're really small houses. They're like, I don't know, 500 square feet or less. They're small little houses, and their value is pretty high. So I would love to have a container house right on that empty lot, right next to my house. I'd be very happy to have one of those cute little container houses. And there's a giant lot on a corner near me. We could fit 4 of those on there. That would be so cool. So I think it'd be awesome. And Daytona Beach is a cool, progressive place. We have universities and smart people, and we can do great things together and be innovative. So, and the parade was awesome, and the seafood festival was awesome. Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Okay. Our next speaker is Lucy Desmore, and on deck is John Burge.
Good evening, Lucy Desmore, 1643 West Paradise, Daytona Beach. I only came up because I do want to thank my Zone 1 commissioner for part of the problems over at the subdivision that was solved, but I do want to know, I was told the road that I'm concerned about, Clyde Morris, is a county situation and it's not a city road, and who would I contact? I'm the one that had the accident right at the same time when I was going to grief counseling, and I was hit, my truck getting out of my subdivision. And so I was told that there is what I want to see is a do not block the intersection sign. I need a larger sign there. I don't know whom I would go to. It's been going on long enough. I'm one of those Wesh TV people also, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that because I work in a profession where I can't afford to trouble my occupation. But at the same time, I need that sign out there. They're still blocking the intersection, and I need the flashing light out there, although they said I'm close to a traffic light, so I don't get a traffic light, but all I do want is a caution sign flashing, because I just simply now drive right in the middle of everyone when I see them trying to block the intersection. And if necessary, I've gotten out of my vehicle and said to them, you will not block me from getting in and out of my own subdivision. I may be shot for that because people are strange these days, but until I get some action, I am going to block the intersection myself, drive out into the traffic, because you're not going to stop me from getting into my subdivision. So someone please tell me who to contact for the county, and how do I get my sign put out there. If Ruth Traeger could put a sign out there running for office in front of my subdivision and proceed to tell me to put a sign in my yard when she was running for office, then it should be a sign that can be larger to say, do not block the intersection. That's all I want. I want them to stop blocking where we come out of our own subdivision.
Okay. Just to let you know, you're in Paris's district, but across the street is Pine Lakes,
I
which
know.
is mine as
Yes.
right now, and we've talked before. Yes, that stretch of road is county. It actually is county, state, and city. Across Clyde Morris is a little bit of city, but right there, and I'm the one that pushed for that sidewalk that was finally finished. Okay, and I had residents at Pine Lakes also asking the same question about that, and I believe when I was campaigning, they have actually talked to the mayor as well. And it is county. I have asked county several times, and I have been turned down. Your county council person for your district is Matt Reinhardt.
Okay.
And if you would like to send me an email, and I know you have my email, send me an email and tell me exactly what you're wanting, and I will copy Matt as well, and he can go from there and handle that.
Okay, and
Okay.
I will go to a county council meeting in person. That is
Yes,
exactly what
and
I'll
I
do.
will also send
Yes.
you
Okay.
their meetings, because sometimes it's
Okay.
at 9,
Because
and
this,
sometimes it's at
this was
4.
Ms.
last
Desmore.
October of last year.
Ms.
This is
Desmore.
long enough.
I've been in contact with Matt Reinhardt.
I have
He is,
you? Okay.
yeah, he's working on it, and I spoke to him last week, so he was going to give me an update, but I'll follow up with him and I'll let him know
When is the
too.
next county council meeting?
It was yesterday.
And so when is the next one?
Yesterday, the next one is the Tuesday before our commission meeting, and
Okay.
it should be 4 o'clock.
Okay.
But you can go online.
Okay, because if something has not been done with you, I will be there in person. Thank you. Good job.
Our next speaker is John Birch, and on deck is Chad Walton.
The one and only. God bless America. I thank God for you all. Now, I'm going to relate to her. What about Bethune-Cookman? They are parking their cars all along the road. That's illegal. Where the post police department. That's illegal. So if you built a dormitory and you don't have adequate parking, why you don't give them a ticket? You don't give them a ticket, but you will give me a ticket. Now that's one thing. I would just elaborate. Now, I come to talk to my mayor. First of all, I'm Mr. Birch. I live at 836 Orange Avenue. I'm a bill you know what. My mama worked as a slave. My daddy was born in 1919. I remember Daytona when you couldn't go across the beach. We had to go to Bethune Beach. See, a lot of people forget about that, especially my mayor. Uh-oh. And you all don't understand. Discrimination is going to exist. I love Donald Trump. Out loud. I will run for mayor as a what? Republican. We never had a Republican mayor. I would get my other stuff done. Because you all want somebody to do something for you. I want you to do for yourself, for your community. I clean up, I do. Now, I come to address one thing. My limo was registered to me, my company, and the city. The police took pictures of me. I cut it. I abided by the law. I put a jacuzzi tub on it, and I'm the original. And guess what I bought now? A Mercedes-Benz. So why take my car and crush it? They crushed my car. It went down in the storm. Here's FEMA. I went to Daytona record. You know what they told me? Get a lawyer. Because you're the mayor, and you direct them. And I'm not scared of them, because I'm going to stand up for my right. See this hair? All you can do is hit me in my head, and I'm dead. But I will stand up for what's right. You took my car, you destroyed my car, and then you told me, go get a lawyer. You take houses from my people. Them are my people. My mama had a tub. We had water dropping. She put that tub there. It rained on it. Why don't we try to help people instead of, I'm going to bind you, I'm going to do this. Yeah. I will stand up for what's right. Yeah. And ain't nobody going to stop me, not even a bullet. Because all they can do is lay me down. But why take my people property? Why not help people that need help? Praise the Lord, because I will be him. Coon man and all. You took my car. And I will show you what time it is.
Okay, our final speaker tonight is Chad Walton.
Oh. I'm ready to die.
Good evening. My name's Chad Walton. I'm the owner of the company Snap Space Solutions. I'm thankful to have had the opportunity to bring a shipping container home to the housing fair that we had this weekend. It was an amazing success. Mayor, I know you've been through it as well as others, and thank you for inviting me to that. We'll do whatever we can to help the homeless in the area, the affordable housing in the area, to help whatever code things that we can. We'll work to make sure that the homes fit within the codes. Any of the codes that need to be adjusted, or whatever, we'll take whatever time needs to help with that. But just I want to thank you. You guys are amazing. I've been to many meetings throughout the country. I traveled the East Coast. We've got factory in Maine all the way down through. Many code meetings, many commission meetings, many city council meetings, and you guys have an amazing heart for people, so thank you. It's great to see. Thank you so much.
We look forward to seeing you at one of our meetings to do a presentation. Thank you for doing that. Thank you.
That was our final speaker, Mr. Mayor.
Good night, Daytona Beach.
Good